What is going on, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer, Tim Hyde, Notre Dame football show, Pod Like a Champion for our podcast folks. Hope everyone's doing well. Tim, it's football season. I was telling my wife, dude, we're in football season now. Fall
Yeah,
camp,
yeah,
the games are going to be here before you know it.
yep.
We're in that part of the year now where Tim, we're not going to be like, man, what are we going to talk about today? Let's just
Yeah,
scrape out 30 minutes and then of course we always go an hour. But
yeah.
we're in full football season and it's July 26th. How about that?
No, it's wild. Obviously, starting here in July, getting ready for the Navy game. But you're right, it's football time. So every day, at least for me, is always like, oh my God, what happened? Who did this? Who did that? Is there an injury? Right? There's always something crazy. Freeman, I actually listened to Freeman's press conference today, talking about obviously Bayless. We'll get into, but that's the first of probably many. Right? Freeman talked about there's going to be a ton of obstacles along the way, and they come each and every year, so it's going to be an adventure. But obviously, looking forward to the game in Ireland. It's just going to be a lot of fun. As you know me, Mike, all I've been talking about is Ohio State. So today is kickoff as we get ready. I mean, we are less than 2 months away from that football game. That's pretty awesome.
It is awesome, Tim. And for folks watching live with us or watching back, please do hit that thumbs up on the video, of course, and subscribe to our channel. For more content, if you're listening via podcast, leave us a nice review, I hope. I check the reviews every few months, and some are nice and some aren't, but, still leave us a review. And, hopefully it's good. Got to mention this real quick. We had a little flash sale here at Blue and Gold. Just $1 for a month. So if you're maybe someone who listens to the pod or watches our stuff regularly on YouTube, and you're like, yeah, I mean, I want to try this whole subscription service out. I think it's pretty neat. Go to blueandgold.com. You get to read all of our premium articles. I think today alone was like 15 articles, which is absolutely nutty. And then
15? Seriously?
yeah. And I was only 3 of them. And I put this live show on our front page just to kind of reach that audience too. But yeah, so lots of content. And you get to go on the Loose Emoji message board. Rest in peace to the GOAT. And interact with guys like me and Tim Hyde, and Goolsby's on there sometimes, and Goolsby will just kind of light a fire and
He was on there.
Yeah, I don't know what he was talking about this week, but Goolsby's on there sometimes. We've got hey, Goolsby's probably listening to this. What's up, Goolsby? Our other staff members at Blue and Gold. So yeah, we do. I got a notepad I'm trying to find. I got it. Okay. Got my notepad. I got it. Text my wife to go get my notepad, and it's sitting right in front of me. But yeah, $1 for a month. And what was I gonna say? Yeah, Tim, we got a pretty fun show lined up. Some big news. We'll have Tyler Horka, Blue and Gold beat writer. He got to take in Notre Dame's full practice today. We had a video report. It's about 14 minutes long where Horka and Kelly talked about practice. Did you get to see that, Tim?
Yes, yeah. I watched it driving over here to the boathouse, and it was good job.
I wish they would say this. I need to remind them, like, they'll talk about, oh, this thing happened in scrimmage. Well, media only gets to shoot the first 5 periods, so it's stretching and routes on air. Routes on air is the most exciting thing that happens in the first 5 periods. So if you're like, why are they talking about this scrimmage stuff, but they're showing us Sam Hartman stretching? Just an FYI, that is why. But still, it's good stuff that we get to see in practice. I say the media in general. And I will add, of the 20 practices before the Navy game, I think it's 12 of them. Media at least gets some portion of practice to watch. So that's I was pretty happy with that. So I thought that was pretty good.
Especially later. Especially, I mean, today is fun. Obviously, it's day one, but yeah, 2 weeks from now, even if it's 5 periods, you see who's up front. You see who's coming out with that first O, the first D, the nickel group, whatever Freeman's emphasizing. So yeah, it's important. It's important down the road here.
Yeah, I think if you're reading all these different articles and whatnot, I think the analysis of how the players look is you can get a little bit more of that from the full practice, but yeah, observations when it's 5 periods, that can be pretty tough. So if I'm a Notre Dame fan reading these articles, I'm taking like some of the analysis with a grain of salt because it's practice. Like it's a little bit more difficult to really gauge that, but I do think it's really important, like the lineups, like you said, Tim, and the injury dates and what these coaches and players are saying. And I'll tell you, I think does the most comprehensive job of reporting on all that. But
yeah, well, I mean, real quick on that, on the
bias.
lineups. I mean, just the
Yeah.
lineups. I know it's day one; they're in t-shirts and underwear, running around. But the simple fact that Tyree came out in the starting unit. That's what I mean. We kind of know who's who, and especially with the O line, it's the same as spring ball, running backs, all that. But the fact that Tyree, which it was going to be Colsey, Merriweather outside, Thomas is the slot, and they went with Chris Tyree. So that was I thought that was very newsworthy of coming out of day one, which tells you how they evaluate everything after spring football, and then obviously the summer workouts and what they want to do on offense, which is going to be a heavy 11 personnel if you want to call Tyree a true slot receiver. Muted.
Yeah, old Mike's muted game. Yeah, I was just mentioning we're really leaning in towards these like short clips because I just think it's really fun and people love that kind of content. I know I do. So I put this together. Sorry for folks watching on podcasts. I always say to go to YouTube. So I thought this little route here by Chris Tyree, and again, it's just a route on an air. But the little stutter step off the line, the slant, he kind of bobbles it for a second, but in just the couple clips that we got this like of my guy shot at Chris Tyree, I was like, damn, like dude looks more like a receiver than I thought. And I'm kind of with you in that and I love Chris Tyree. I mean, I really enjoy getting to know him as a recruit and getting to know the family. But I think like for the excitement and hype Chris Tyree had, it hasn't lived up to the expectations, right? And I'm kind of like, I think we know the ceiling of Chris Tyree, but maybe not, dude. Maybe not. You with me, Tim? Like maybe he is a receiver.
I mean, there's a history of Notre Dame guys that came in nationally ranked, all the hype. I mean, Tyree, goes 90 some odd yards in his freshman year against Syracuse and that, and you see all that.
Syracuse, that's USC.
No, Syracuse in the 20 was it the 2020 season? 2020
Continue,
season?
Tim. I'm sorry.
Yeah, during that. And obviously the big kickoff return as a softie against Wisconsin. So no, it's always there. Every time you see him, I know as a Notre Dame fan, I know everyone obviously out there, exactly. I just talked about Rocket and Ricky Waters. Tyree's so fast, you just boom. You're just waiting for him to go 75 all the time. And it hasn't happened a lot. So
yeah.
Now his senior year, bam, it could happen. There's so many guys that where this has happened to late in their career, and that's just development, hanging in there, wait for your time to come. I think a lot also, I remember reading and even hearing about how Tyree was always, when they always talk about 21 personnel last year, is Tyree as a slot, but people forget you had Diggs get hurt. You had, remember, Price get hurt. So they couldn't do anything with Tyree in fall camp. They had to have a number 2 running back behind, Estime going into the Ohio State game. So that kind of just threw that out the window where they had to have a number 2 back. So he was kind of stuck at that running back spot last year. And now it's wide open. So, and you got a quarterback that can sling it. So that's why I think they're going to do a heck of a lot more true 3 wide sets this year. I bet you we see them in 11 personnel 80+% of the time this year.
We have a lot of good stuff to talk about when Notre Dame has a huge recruiting weekend on Sunday. Deuce Knight gets to campus tonight and then has a full visit tomorrow. And we're not even talking about that today, unless some super chats come in. Like, that's just kind of where this is at. So we will move to that, Tim.
Big barbecue. Is that Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I think they have practice on Saturday. So that's why it's on a Sunday too. That was kind of one of my first reactions. Okay, so Tim, we've talked about Kingston Viliamu-Asa, but you didn't want to read the reports because Tim, you were like, man, I don't want you to get my hype up, Singer.
Yes.
You were like, I don't want you to build up that this is going to happen and then it doesn't happen and me get sad. Because old Singer, I want you guys to go look at all those crystal balls and whatnot. Only one was for any school for Kingston Viliamu-Asa. Oh, Mike Singer threw out a guess to say it nicely. I mean, I had my sources telling me, hey, I think it's going to be Notre Dame, and I was even urged to log the prediction, but I mean, as of Saturday afternoon, I was like, I don't know if it's Notre Dame, Ohio State. I probably would have guessed Ohio State, to be honest, and I even wrote that, in the week leading up, and Kingston didn't even come to that final decision until Saturday.
Yeah.
Notre Dame, I had a whole backstory article at blueandgold.com, the gold standard, and I wrote Notre Dame felt good on Wednesday about it, but still, no, I mean, who cares about feeling good? You got to get the final word, and they finally did on Saturday evening, and then of course he announces the next day, and I texted Tim on Sunday, said, hey Tim, got a video to record with you. Tim was out. Did you even know I was hitting you up to do this video about Kingston?
I'll be honest with you, Mike. I mean, of course. I mean, when I got the text from you, I'm like, oh my God, this is seriously going to happen. I was like, son of a gun. I was like, but I was gone. I was out until way, way late. So, and I just hung by. I didn't bug you whatsoever. I didn't do it. I didn't want to feed into anything. But I go, you know what, Mike? And I remember when you logged that prediction, whenever it was at Christmas or something,
February.
Okay, yeah, it seems like ages ago. I remember shooting you a text like, "Is this real?" And you're like, "This is what the feeling, the buzz is right now." And I was like, not saying anything more. I'm not even going to ask you about it because I've been, big fan of his, just football player, where he's from, all those things. Obviously, me being a born and raised in Long Beach, SoCal native, so very exciting and. Just always been on the back burner. I haven't bugged Mike Singer whatsoever. Just been reading the reports like everyone else and seeing how this thing plays out. And I did. I was out with the family. I was like, I got to watch this for 30 seconds. And the family's like, what are you watching? I was like, I'm a Notre Dame guy. I got to watch some commit video. All right. So here you go. And I was like, son of a gun. So it's pretty awesome. I know I texted you and Goolsby as soon as it took place. So it was big news. It was great news for Notre Dame and the staff moving forward. To get one heck of a linebacker, one heck of a football player out of the premier, high school, conference, high school league in the country. I mean, I could go on and on this guy, Mike. Seriously,
I tried to get him on the show tonight. Didn't hear back from him, but hopefully soon we get Kingston Viliamu-Asa on the show. I think Tim would be pretty excited. So in terms of like Notre Dame pulling kids out of the Trinity League, Tim, first, what are all the schools in the Trinity League? You have your Bosco, your Mater Dei.
You got Bosco, you got Mater Dei. I mean, first off, Kingston's only the sixth one. I went back all the way back to 2002. He's only the sixth Trinity.
All right, well, what are the other schools?
So you got Bosco, you got Mater Dei, you got Servite, you got Santa Margarita, you got J. Sarah.
Is that Santa Margarita Catholic?
Yeah, Santa Margarita Catholic.
Is Mission Viejo in there?
It's in its own little hub out there. Outside of that, you have J. Sarah, which is right on the outskirts of Mission Viejo.
Yep.
And then you have Orange Lutheran, which is right in the city of Orange County, right in the heart of Orange. So right down the street.
Kyle Ford went.
Yeah. So it's you got Powerhouse, great baseball league, unbelievable baseball league, basketball league, but it's football. The league is just loaded with Power 5 dudes at every single school. And it is just the competition level. And then you go to the second best Catholic league, which is right here. You got Bishop Amat, where Notre Dame's got Joey Getherall and Corey Minor out of. And the SoCal Catholics are stacked. But for Notre Dame only to get 6 and 20 plus years is fascinating to go back and do that research. But with Kingston, I've said all along, and I've said this 1,000 times, I want him and I want Gerby Lambert. You give me those two, and the rest is gravy as far as I'm concerned, because I think those two are so key for this class and so important for Notre Dame moving, forward down the road. But real quick on Kingston, you got a guy out of St. John Bosco, one of the top 5 high schools in America, let's just call it. But it's so much more than that, because he's a known dude. He's been a guy since his freshman year. Everyone knows who he is. My gosh, he's got offers from every single program in America, which Notre Dame got a guy with a Bama offer, a Georgia offer, a Michigan offer, Ohio State offer, an SC offer. There's they haven't gotten dudes like that. So this is a massive, massive get in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
And real quick, to finish that off with when you say Trinity League, it's the elite prospects. They're all big time high school Catholic schools. So
you said 6 since 2002 for Notre Dame?
Yeah, only 6. And then you have and I think this is so important, because hopefully this has tentacles. Seriously, does this open up more to get in there and get some of these guys? Because some great high school football. It really is.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's like when Notre Dame got CJ Williams a couple cycles ago, it was like, oh, this is it. And then what does he do before signing day? Flips to USC. Year later, now he's at Wisconsin.
Yeah,
random. But if I'm USC, I'm pissed that I let this kid commit to Notre Dame. I'm not stopping him. I'm not going to stop recruiting. If I'm Ohio State, Tim, I was told in the couple days leading up to his decision that Ryan Day himself thought there was no way that Kingston was going to Notre Dame. He thought Notre Dame was running 3rd. So if I'm Ohio State, I'm like, there's no way I'm letting him go to Notre Dame. Like, we just beat Notre Dame last year. I'm not letting this kid go to Notre Dame. I'm going to keep recruiting. Like, I bet you that's what Ohio State's saying. So Notre Dame has to just pull out all the stops. They've had Keon Keeley, CJ Williams, Peyton Bowen. They've had some big-time players flip, in well into their senior season. Well, I guess Keon was right around the start of his senior season. Some of those other guys, up at the signing day, like Notre Dame cannot let this one follow its suit there. I don't think it will, but again, those schools are not going to give up. So in talking to Notre Dame sources, Tim, Notre Dame thinks they have a first-round pick at linebacker. They think that this is like a program-changing player. I tweeted that the vibes are impeccable, and talking to different people like Monday morning in the offices in the Goog, like, let's just say they were excited. Like there is just, this is huge, Tim. They really do think that this is a difference maker. Like, for as important like your quarterback is, this, like, they think that this is the quarterback of the defense. And I know that's like a cliche thing. Oh, the middle linebacker's quarterback of the defense. Like, I say that in terms of the importance to the class and the football team. Like, this is a quarterback level impact.
Yeah, I've been on record. I've said it. I think he's the most ready to play linebacker to come to Notre Dame since Jalen Smith. I do. There's no reason for him not to arrive in January. I'm assuming he'll be an early enrollee. He's been a starter since his freshman year. That's the other thing. He's playing in the best high school football league in America, the best football week in and week out, nonstop. St. John Bosco travels the country. They're preseason. People go look at it. They're playing nothing but out-of-state programs. They will go play anyone, anywhere. And you got a guy who's been starting since day one. He is I know Mike Goolsby had some great quotes about him as well. And I truly believe that. I've said that. Notre Dame has recruited out some outstanding football players the last couple of years. I think Kingston's a different dude. I just do. He is his fundamentals are just unbelievable. He has a great stance, a great base. His striking ability, meaning the way he closes on ball carriers, and especially in the alleys, in the perimeter, going from Mike Backer to the hash marks, in that he's relentless. He has great patience, great just a discipline within himself to play within the scheme, first off, of what St. John Bosco is asking him to do. And then he finishes. And there's plenty of games at St. John Bosco on YouTube for people just go watch a full game. But his highlights are impressive. He's a fundamentally sound linebacker that is, I'm going to say it, he's so undervalued by all the services. I do not understand how he is not a 5-star. I really don't. I think he is that good, that talented, and there's great linebackers. Don't get me wrong, all over the country. Kingston's as good as anyone playing high school football in America. I truly believe that. And I've watched a ton of film of all these guys. I try and do that with these high-end guys. You talked about that in your video with Darren Pritchett the other day, talking about the elite dudes that Notre Dame is signing. And I like to go and watch the 10 or 12 players around those guys in the rankings to compare them to. And Kingston's a bona fide dude, man. He really is.
Yeah. Ready to play right away. You mentioned, the travel, the competition, like he early enrollee. Goolsby thinks he's a freshman starter. Notre Dame thinks it's possible as well, from what I'm told.
Sure.
Kingston's going to have to battle like Drake Bowen, and there's going to be other linebackers battling for that, of course, but
Yes.
he's going to, to talk about a linebacker, like how often you see a freshman linebacker starting. Tim, I know you would like to address that, but we need to pay some bills real quick. So let's move along the show and hear from our sponsors over at My Perfect Franchise. If you are that displaced corporate executive, maybe you're wanting to put your career in your own hands. Maybe you're even an experienced entrepreneur and you're wanting to diversify. Well, Andy Ledecky can help. He is a huge college sports fan and a franchise veteran, having owned multiple franchises and businesses. Using his expertise, Andy helps others find their American dream through a very thorough consultation and evaluation process. Call Andy, put your life and career in your own hands. And best of all, folks, his services are 100% free to use. So what do you have to lose? Find your perfect franchise at myperfectfranchise.net, 404-973-9901. And continuing on, Tim, some rather interesting news. I posted at Blue and Gold some rumors. I think that's the best way to call it, of why Matt Balis resigned. Look, there's a lot of gossip. I heard clashing of heads was part of it, and then I heard today, it had nothing to do with that. It was really just a family matter or something. I'm like, I don't know what the heck to believe with this stuff. So the term actions speak louder than words, right? The words are a lot of, just gossip, but the action is that he resigned right before the start of fall camp. So something is wrong. If it's a serious family matter, prayers out to Matt Balis. In the family. But again, I can't say for certain what that is, but again, something is going on there, because it's a very weird timing for Matt Balis to resign from his post at Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman said when we sat down, I think Freeman said he got the news Sunday, talked to Balis Monday, tried to get him to stay, and then the report comes out yesterday. Yeah, Tim, do you have reactions to this? What the impact is, Notre Dame losing Matt Balis?
Oh, it's massive. You can't sugarcoat this. In my opinion, I think it's huge. So yeah, I'm not going to get into the who knows, because we don't know. And like you said, Mike, maybe there is something out there where he just says, I can't do the next few months, 20 hours a day, so to speak, in the program. Who knows? But to do this at this time it's a huge blow because of who Matt Balis is. Let's just go back to when Brian Kelly left. More people went on Twitter, social media, message boards saying you got to keep Balis than they did anyone else. He was like instant, what are we going to do? Because he has been a massive, massive part of turning around the Notre Dame football program since the mess. I was at that game in 2016 when Kelly walked off the field in a drizzle at a USC. Totally thought he was going to get fired. I was at a huge, ton of Notre Dame and USC alums and hanging out. Everyone thought he was going to be gone. And then sure enough, he goes and makes the hires. Balis was one of them, which goes back to his old DC. Bob Diaco is the one that recommended him. But Matt Balis is, what's funny? You start doing a little bit of research on him. Who's the strength coach that Urban Meyer hired to get the Utah program going? Matt Balis. The guy's been around nothing but dudes his whole life. So he turned around the culture. I posted a great article Tyler Horka did yesterday on the message board just to show people a year ago. Mike McGlinchey was on a podcast, and all he talked about was the turnaround that program had in 17. He says it was all Matt Balis. He just says it was him. It was the way he conducted himself with those guys, the culture of just talking and building their mind up basically as much as their body. And then one last thing on this is on the recruiting thing. How many times do you talk to recruits? And Balis he always gives a thumbs up, does he not? Every time someone comes. We go back to, the Knapp guy out of Georgia. What's the first thing he does? Boom, go to Balis. He's going to weigh you in and do all that stuff, check your hands and all the fun stuff that people like to talk about. Is he gives thumbs ups on so many guys. Not that he's not the only strength coach that does that in America, but he's been a huge part of that. I remember Harry Easton talking about Balis when Harry left and he was in Chicago. You could Google it. There's stuff out there. And Harry was talking about Balis, the turnaround on that 17 O-line that took place. But it's a biggie. Obviously, Marcus Freeman will find a strength coach. Strength coaches happen, but it's a big loss for Notre Dame. I truly believe that it is. Is it going to affect the season? Strength coaches are a huge part of the season. I saw people thinking, oh, the work's already done. No, it's not. Mike Goolsby talked about this. You see your strength coach a couple times a week, nonstop. So he's a big part of it. But it was a big loss. I was shocked. I don't think anyone wasn't shocked. So there's obviously more to this story. It is what it is. Could be a head coach going into year 2, wanting to do a few more things, which he kind of insinuated to some question and answers today, I felt, if you read between the lines.
Here's another note. We keep saying when Reese goes to Alabama, well, there's that last Brian Kelly coach on Balis. There's the Brian Kelly regime guy, and now, so that was a side note. Now what that really means, I don't know, but that was a thought that came to my head, and I do want to mention this, and you can take this for what it's worth, but in kind of getting into the replacement, Fred Hale. I've seen this guy so many times, I feel like, in the past couple of years. I never knew who he was.
Yep.
He's just very the new or the interim replacement for Balis, easily recognizable figure, at practices. And so I talked to a source about him. I'm told that he is, and again, this is where I'm like, I don't know what the impact of this is, but you can take this for what it's worth. Hale, on recruiting visits, he's much more of a personable figure, very nice guy. Balis is a little bit more prickly of a personality. So maybe you do want your strength coach to be super prickly. And I was told, Balis works the guys hard, even during the football season. I don't know if Hale will be like that as well, but Hale seems more like a personable guy. I don't think that means that Hale's going to go soft on the guys, but it is interesting that, Hale, you're getting a different personality in the strength coach. So I don't know, take that for what it's worth. Matt Balis abruptly resigning is definitely the word.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Hale, you see all the time on the games. He's on TV all the time. Whenever there's a shot,
like that get back coach or something.
Not so much, but he's like the hype dude too. He's fired up 24/7 out there. There's always games. I'm like, who in the heck is that guy? That guy is just like a ball of energy. So you definitely see it and whatnot. And then, God, man, I've read Loose Emoji for 100 years, it feels like. And I can't tell you how many times he's written during the spring of, when there's a new coach or a new strength coach, and everyone's always, pom-poms and balloons. We're going to get the same thing. The new strength coach will come in. Oh, he's nice and whatnot. Oh, he doesn't work him as hard. I don't know. Who cares? Matt Balis worked the hell out of them. They won a lot of football games, and those guys were strong. They lost some big games. Is that due to the strength training? Who knows? Sometimes they just lost a better football team. So, 2017, obviously they lost a couple of games at the end, but since 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, they only lost one game in November. And that was last year to USC. And I don't think, a couple extra hang clings or pull-ups really hurt them against Caleb Williams. He was going to beat them no matter what.
Yeah.
But and he's a strength coach. He worked his butt off. He came back. They were down 21-7 in the bowl game, so obviously their mindset was to come back and beat an SEC team. So it's always when I mention Samoji, it's just there's always going to be, or every time there's a new coach, a new something, there'll be lots of great things said about the new guy, and who knows about the old guy. But yeah, he may be prickly, but guess what? Scott Cochran was at Alabama, who created a monster. Mickey Marotti with Urban in Florida and Ohio State. Strength coaches are you're supposed to get the most out of your guys, and I think Bayless did that during his time.
All right. Let's hear from another sponsor before we move along in the show tonight. It's everyone's favorite ad read. It's, of course, the Rogue Shop. The husband and wife outfit, Mr. Rogue and his wife Shar craft Canada's farmers who specialize in small batch sustainable plant medicine. It's a true holistic type of small business, farm and grow everything themselves, do everything by hand. Head over to their website, rogueshop.com. That's ROGUE shop.com. If you have issues sleeping, chronic pain, anxiety, stress issues, guys, use that promo code blue and gold. That's all one word, promo code blue and gold. That will get you 10% off your order at the Rogue Shop. Okay. Tim, we have a couple clips to record. Okay. Our social media clips have been popping off. Yeah, like I've said before, this is something that Tim and I would usually do off air, but I mean, we're together and it's still good content. So, Tim, our first clip we're going to record, again, you got to give me like 45 seconds, is the realistic expectations of Tobias Merriweather. Tim, whenever we post anything about Tobias Merriweather, people love it. Tobias Merriweather is just, there's always one of those players that people are just like, this is the guy. We need this guy. And it's just a hype train. It's Tobias this year. So you got some thoughts on Tobias?
Yeah, when I got over to the boathouse here, I did a quick little research. I just pulled out a couple names, and I think I could give you at least 53 seconds here. Let's see what we got.
No, I need 45.
45. Okay, for your video.
Because I go about 10. So yeah, 45 seconds. So you go about 47. We're good. It can't be over 60 seconds. That's the thing. All right, here we go. Let's do this. You guys are getting to see how the sausage is made. That's all this is. Trash, I see your super chat. We'll get to that in a second. Backup says, I knew Tim was on a boat. Of course.
Right here. Got the closet.
All right, here we go. Tobias Merriweather just had one catch last year, but he did show off his fantastic potential when he caught that touchdown against Stanford. Tim, what would you say your expectations are for Merriweather this fall?
Extremely high. I think he's going to be the leading receiver. I think he's going to be Sam Hartman's go-to guy. And in doing a quick little research here, Mike, going back a few years, to compare him real quick, Chase Claypool went from 81 yards to over 400. Fuller went from 160 to almost 1,100. St. Brown went from 8 yards to almost 1,000. And Golden Tate went from 131 to 1,100. I think Tobias is going to be at the high end somewhere in there. I think he's going to be a 750 to 900 yard receiver this year.
All right, perfect.
How'd I do?
Perfect. I was also going to do a short about Bayless, but I don't
you had the other one. You had the
you're right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Okay, must get. Write down my timestamp. So we're at 34:20. I know this is great podcast stuff for you folks.
But yeah, it is fascinating. Real quick on the receiver, I just started thinking about some of the draft choice guys because I knew some of those guys didn't play a lot as freshmen, and boom, they all blew up as sophomores. I think Tobias is going to be that guy this year.
Yeah, I love it. it. Okay, all right. Yeah, we'll talk about the biggest must get on the 2024 board. On Tim, unless you can pull someone else out of your rear end, it's Beasley, Scott, or Lambert. I'm assuming Lambert's the guy for you.
Oh yeah. I'll give a quick little 43-second take here for you. Here we go.
All right, perfect. So Notre Dame is at 22 commits, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. Here we go. Notre Dame's 2024 class is currently at 22 commitments. Only a few spots remaining. Tim, who would you say is the biggest must-get player left on the board for the Irish?
Well, the biggest must get is obviously Gerby Lambert, because the ones that everyone else are talking about are committed somewhere. So you're going to have to pull a rabbit out of your hat to get Beasley out of Tennessee in the SEC and Justin Scott away from Ohio State and Coach Larry Johnson, the D-line coach there. So without a doubt for me, it's Gerby Lambert. I think he's, will keep that line of elite top 100, top 50 big time offensive tackle prospects coming from Fisher, Emil Wagner, Jagasaw, and then you get Gerby Lambert here. It'll be a heck of a close here to keep the tackle rotation off to the NFL rolling for years to come.
All right, sweet. There you go.
Yeah, Mike, I just did that off the cuff. Look at that. That's what I love doing these.
And Tim, in the 2.5 years you've been working with us, man, you seriously have grown so much, man. It's been amazing.
Quick on my feet. Yes, there you go.
Tim, the very first video you did for us was
on the O-line. The O-line, the culture of the O-line.
Was it? I thought it was Tyson Ford.
No, we did Tyson Ford. You and I talked about the O-line and Jeff Quinn, right? Everyone's favorite.
Yeah, good old Jeff Quinn.
Stan. Oh yeah, that was a fun one.
Those first two were
right when Blake Fisher and all those guys were starting to come together, and we actually talked about Joe Alt being in the tight end tradition, going from tight end to tackle. So I remember that was a fun show. And then we did Tyson Ford.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just remember.
By the way, just another quick day one nugget. I know Tyler's going to be coming on, but I just checked. I scanned the weights a little bit. I saw somewhere posted. He lost like 25 pounds or something.
Tyson Ford did.
Yeah.
All right. And put a pin in that. Let's talk about that next week. Okay.
Yes.
That's a great topic. People love height and weights.
Oh yeah.
Those changes. I would put that up there. And that one I really get. I think that is exciting. That's up there with the announcers and the shoes and but that one I really do understand. And jersey numbers. People like talking jersey numbers.
What do we got?
Trash says college lets you wear 0, NFL lets you wear 0. Would you like to see 00? And yes, I had some stuff from the shop. Trash got some road truck photo going on, and that's always
double 0. Yeah, if you're gonna go 00, then go 101, right? I mean, just keep it going. No 00. I mean, tell you the truth, Mike, it's not going to bother me if it's double. But if it's 00, linemen should be eligible to wear 00. So we get the old Jim Otto back from the heyday. So
I would love to see some offensive linemen wear single digits. You don't see that.
No, that would be awesome.
All right, so to wrap up the show, Trash, really do appreciate the super chat. I say wrap up the show. We still got 25 minutes or so. We're bringing on Tyler Horka, our blue and gold beat writer, to join this week's show. And as I mentioned at the top of it, my man was probably sweating his rear end off, and then got rained on, at Notre Dame today. And so I thought, let's bring him on. Let's talk. So Tyler, I think we got to go right to the quarterbacks, right? Tim, do you have a comment?
Oh, no. I saw someone real quick. I had no idea Colsey was 0.
Yeah. Colsey's 0 for a while now. I think he was 0 in spring.
Mike, jersey numbers and TV announcers. I'm just watching ball, okay? That's all I'm worried about.
I was shocked to see Holden Stays was number 13 today. I don't know when that happened.
That's what he wore in high school. That was his high school number.
Okay.
He was he 85 last year, I think it was?
Yep.
Yeah, 13. I was like, who is this guy? But I found out very quickly who that guy was because he was all over the place today. But you want to talk quarterbacks. I generally come on here to talk quarterbacks.
Let's go to tight ends first, Tyler, because I feel like that tight end group is monstrous. Raridan's always been a gigantic dude. From when I saw him as a junior in high school, he's huge. Bauman's a monster. Stays is a monster. Coop Flanagan, who I've been talking about. Big dude, right? Like 260 pounds or something as a freshman.
Yeah, we had a report earlier this week from some sources, blueandgold.com sources, that talked about Cooper Flanagan. And this is a guy that I've never seen in a Notre Dame uniform. So I was like, okay, I'll write that down, believe it when I see it. And I went out there today. And obviously Michael Mayer has his own unique build. You know what Michael Mayer looks like. But I was like, hey, man, this guy's filling out this 87 pretty well. The tradition of 87 tight end at Notre Dame is going to get carried on by Cooper Flanagan. So I was impressed by him, especially because you mentioned Eli Raridan. I obviously, picked out number 9 pretty quickly today, but he didn't get in on any competitive reps. So I'm not sure if that's the knee thing. Luckily, we get to talk to him and Jared Parker and all the tight ends tomorrow. So we'll see where he's at physically, because we were told that he's pretty much all the way there. If anyone was going to hold out, I thought it would be Kevin Bauman, because I walked in there and I saw a big old brace on his knee today, and I was like, uh-oh. But he got in on a lot of reps. Mitchell Evans was another guy that was held out. So it was like a weird hodgepodge type of thing today. But I'll tell you what, they really rotated Bauman, Stays, and Cooper Flanagan today, and that's kind of crazy. You got a senior, a sophomore, and then a fall, summer enrollee freshman. So kind of ran the gamut there, but that's just half the guys. Then you got Sherwood and Raridan, and I guess I'm missing somebody here, but because I think there's 6 scholarship.
Well, I missed Evans. So
yeah, and then Evans was. We need to get the scoop on these guys, but yeah, it's a good looking room. And I was on Darren Pritchett's radio show earlier today, and I told him, man, if you can just get all of these guys fully healthy, it gets to a point to you don't know who you're choosing from. You don't know who to pick and put on the field, and that's a good problem to have.
yeah, I was told that this group looks a lot better than it did in the spring too. Like, and again, you were missing some guys in the spring, but like just the room is still a lot better as well. Okay, yeah. To the quarterbacks, Hartman, Angeli, Minchie, number 16, Devin, I forget his name. How did some of those guys look?
Yeah, it was tough to decipher, because I really wish we got to see more than just red zone. I think they were strategic about that. They knew that the media was on hand today and watching the whole entire thing. They didn't run a single play between the 20s. It was all 20 and 15-yard line in, going toward the goal line. So you didn't get to see that Sam Hartman arm that we rant and rave about, and I saw watching all that Wake Forest film over the offseason. So that was kind of upsetting, but I thought they all looked pretty good. What's kind of funny and ironic is Tommy Rees always harped on decision-making, right? That was his number one criteria for who's going to start, who's going to play at quarterback. You got to make the right decisions. And yeah, there were some interceptions today, but I would chalk up those interceptions more to really good defensive back play. I mean, Jaden Mickey made a miraculous one-handed interception. Benjamin Morrison was doing Benjamin Morrison things. He picked off a pass. Clarence Lewis picked off a pass. The Xavier Watts interception was in one-on-one, so he knew exactly who Sam Hartman was throwing to, and he just went and got the ball. So the picks weren't, oh my God, what are these quarterbacks doing? It was just really good defensive back play. And then for the most part, with the quarterbacks, speaking specifically just on them, the rest of it was pretty good. I thought they showed a good rapport with pretty much all of the wide receivers. That's the one thing that impressed me the most about Sam Hartman today was, yeah, we didn't get to see that arm, like I said, but he was throwing the ball to multiple different guys. I mean, Holden Stays was there, Chris Tyree. He connected with Tobias Merriweather for a touchdown. I think Rico Flores caught a touchdown. That might have been from Steve Angeli. Both of those guys both really threw the ball around to multiple different targets. And I think that was for the emphasis for the defense in the red zone was, hey, let's get to this football. Let's take it away from this offense. For the offense, it was, hey, we don't have Michael Mayer anymore. We're not just going to throw the ball to that guy down here. So who can you throw it to get a touchdown and maybe move the, if it's 3rd and short from the 12, how are we going to move the sticks and get that 1st and goal? I saw really a lot of really encouraging things in the passing game on that front today.
So when you say you guys just got to see red zone, is it they didn't do 20-20, or did they kick you guys out?
Didn't do it at all. There was not one single rep that was run 20-20 today. It was kind of mind-boggling. Like, how do you conduct an entire practice with, and especially the first one of fall camp, without moving the ball? I mean, it was stationary reps. It was snap from the 12, whether it was a sack, an incomplete pass, or a touchdown, you're going to snap from the 12 again. So a lot of situational stuff, but kind of condensing it all to the situation of it being down there in the red zone. I'm surprised Freeman didn't get asked about it today. You got to be selective. You only get 2 questions. I asked about Chris Tyree and Steve Angeli at the very end. Nobody really asked, hey, why are we doing the red zone? But I do remember our old friend Patrick Engel. This is something that they did either fall camp last year or maybe spring practice, where they really emphasized the red zone. That was the case today. Now, I guarantee you, as soon as they kick us out tomorrow, they're going to be running drives through the 20s. That Sam Hartman's going to get a drive, Steve Angeli's going to get a drive. But today, it was 100% red zone, which was pretty interesting.
Okay, interesting. And then Tyree, you mentioned Tyree. And some of the clips that you shot, dude, I thought he looked pretty good as a receiver, like more technical than I would have expected. What did you think about him? And I want to, I've said this earlier in the show, but like for this video we shoot, we don't get to. You guys only get the first 5 periods, so it's like 10 minutes of stretching. So you don't get to shoot that red zone stuff. But again, from what you saw from Tyree the whole practice, maybe some of it didn't get on video. What did you think about Tyree?
Yeah, what's funny is we never stop working at blueandgold.com. So in the time that you guys started, and I've been watching from the start, you know that I'm an avid fan of your guys' show. I like to hear what you guys say, especially because I get to learn a lot about recruiting from you guys. But I posted 5. You could probably pull this up. I need to make it a premium article. I don't know why I haven't. I'm just noticing that right now.
Do you need me to do that while you're talking?
Yeah,
I can
do it right now.
Okay.
It's only been up, like I said, for maybe half an hour. Well, it says it's premium, so maybe that's just a glitch. Anyway,
the stood out one. The 5 players stood out.
Yeah, 5 players who stood out. It should be premium, but anyway, I led with Chris Tyree in that article, and some of the stuff that you were just saying is what I wrote. I'll read a paragraph verbatim here. I said, Tyree has always had a bit of a pass catching acumen coming out of the backfield, but this is different. It feels like he has figured out how to line up and make plays as a wideout with wideout in the italics there, not just as a running back who drifts out to the slot for a few plays per game, hoping to catch the defense napping. It feels like he's totally bought into this reinvention. Marcus Freeman said that he caught, and I don't even know how you quantify this. I can't wait to talk to the wide receivers because I would love to know. Chris Tyree caught 18,000 passes over the summer. I don't know when that started and when the start and end date was, because you can do the simple math, just a little dividing there. But that seems like a lot of passes per day for however long that duration was. He's completely bought into the fundamentals of being a wide receiver. I think we're going to see a different Chris Tyree. And look, I'm not a coach. I'm just watching this thing as a media man. But I think it would behoove him to just literally pretty much run every single play out of the slot this year. Don't even line them up in the backfield. If you want to talk Notre Dame running backs, they have plenty of them. I was thoroughly impressed by those guys today. And this is a practice where they didn't even have pads on. I mean, they weren't doing a lot of pass pro or really getting blown up in the trenches or anything like that. But I was impressed by Jeremiah Love, Jabron Payne. Jadarian Price looks good coming back from the Achilles injury. So don't even flirt with putting Chris Tyree in the backfield. Let this guy just keep getting these reps in the slot. And like you said, Mike, I think it's working for him right now because he looks really good. He looks, and this is why I asked Freeman about it, he looks so much better right now, just one practice into this thing, than he did in the spring. And he didn't even look that bad in the spring either. I saw some signs then too.
Talk to me about Steve Angeli. How's my boy looking?
If you want to go to the observations piece that I posted the first thing after practice, and again, I thought Hartman was kind of limited because his bread and butter is let me hit you for 30 on the first couple plays of a drive, and then I'll get you into the end zone from there. He didn't have that luxury today because of the way that they were repping these things. I thought Steve Angeli might have been a little bit better than Sam Hartman today. And I'm not going to this Tyler Buckner thing that we kind of stirred up in the spring because we saw how that ended. Tyler Buckner's at a completely different.
Stir it up, dude. Stir it up. I love it.
I'm not stirring it up.
Stir it.
Well, they look good. And you can I keep plugging all these articles, but man, I think I have 7 bylines today. So
bro, I'm ahead of you. I already got it pulled up.
There we go.
This guy's
One
an
of these
animal.
bylines is scroll up a little bit. There we are talking about the quarterbacks right there. You see the four horsemen that I posted on Twitter there. Anyway, I thought Angeli was good. It's the decision-making thing for me. He ran in a touchdown today. And again, you can't tackle a quarterback, but it would have been a touchdown if they were in full pads. He got the edge because he got a defender to bite. I think it was linebacker Jalen Sneed, where it looked like maybe he was going to do a short dump down pass. It wasn't even that much of a pump fake, but Angeli had his eyes in the middle of the field, and all of a sudden the next second he's rounding the corner and running in a touchdown. Great athletic play, kind of like the scrambling that he did in the 2022 Blue Gold game is what I likened it to in that article right there. And then it just at the end of the day, I think he threw for more touchdown passes than Hartman did today. It was kind of hard to see all of them because we didn't have an aerial vantage point. We were kind of on the field, and you had to look through some big, heavy offensive linemen that were kind of standing around on the field. But I mean, Angeli had touchdown passes to Braylon James. I think that was the top play of the game of the practice today. Was an over-the-top back corner, Steve Angeli to Braylon James, right over the top of Jaden Mickey, who had a really good day today. He's also in those standouts that I posted at blueandgold.com. So, yeah, Mike, your boy looked good again today, and that's what I wrote in that article right there is that's just good for Notre Dame. You have a bona fide, true number one quarterback in Sam Hartman, but if your backup, Steve Angeli, who hasn't even thrown a pass at the college level, looks this good, I think Notre Dame's in a pretty good spot with this quarterback situation right now.
I'm loving the look of this smug face I have right now. Just how happy that makes me feel. That's great news. So, yeah. Just real quick, Tyler, give me 60 seconds on this. The stature of these guys. Someone just said Minchie looks the tallest in that picture I showed. I know Angeli's bigger than Hartman. I'm curious how Angeli and Minchie kind of stack up next to each other.
I think Angeli's a little bit bigger. Minchie's not lacking size by any means. Hartman is who Hartman is. I mean, we saw him at Wake Forest, and if you were watching him for the first time, you'd say, oh, that guy looks a little small. But if you watched him throw for 4 touchdown passes, you'd ultimately come to the conclusion that it doesn't matter. He's got a heck of an arm. He can take hits. He's not Drew Pine by any means. I mean, I think you look at that right there and you say, okay, he's got the muscle definition. He's filled out. I do think Steve Angeli is a little bit bigger than Kenny Minchie, though. Minchie might have a bigger base, like some bigger legs. That doesn't mean Angeli's lacking anything there either, though. Again, I think that's a good trio that you got right there in Hartman, and then obviously Angeli and Minchie are going to be here for a little longer. But and you can do some things differently with Angeli and Minchie that not that Hartman can't do those, but you have a couple younger guys. I'll put it this way: you have a couple younger guys who you aren't saying, oh, they need to bulk up or else they can't play right now. It's not the size that's keeping Minchie off the field right now. It's the fact that he's a true freshman and he needs to learn from these other guys. And it's definitely not the size that's keeping Angeli off the field either. It's just that you have Sam Hartman, and that guy's going to start for you for an entire season if he stays healthy. And then I kind of like where Notre Dame's quarterback room is headed with those two guys, and then CJ Carr coming in, obviously, as well.
All right. 2 quick things, and I'll throw it over to Tim. Chris says Gino looks humongous. In person, Gino is a big dude.
Huge.
He's huge.
I was looking and I mean, it's not surprising that he played so well at Cincinnati, I think it was, right? I mean, he was a baller there. Was it Cincinnati?
Yeah.
He was a baller there. And I mean, obviously he's a couple decades removed from that now, but he's kind of stayed in shape. And it's funny, they were doing their little warm-up deals today. And Guidugli almost did like this little, the Dak Prescott little hip hinge thing.
Yeah.
Looked like Guidugli was kind of working out and getting ready for the day. So anytime that he has like a free moment like that, you can see him kind of go through some quarterback mechanics thing. And I think that's good because that's eventually what later in the practice he's going to be teaching those guys.
And if you want to read some of Tyler's content at blueandgold.com, it's just $1 for a month, and that'll get you to the Navy game. So, yeah, definitely good stuff. Tim, throwing it over to you. Do you have any thoughts on some things Tyler said? We haven't heard from you in a little bit, or any questions for him?
Yeah, Tyler was right. The red zone was an Al Golden thing. I remember Marcus Freeman talking about that last spring, how Golden brought that from the NFL, which, as Tyler knows better than anyone, I don't know if those red zone stats were that good for Notre Dame defense. So a little surprising that Freeman didn't throw that philosophy out since it didn't work last year and try something new for this year. But yeah, it was fascinating. I watched you and Kyle Kelly's video earlier talking about, which is all red zone, which I get it and whatnot, but you're right. You want to see some dudes run around. You want to see Hartman throw that 25-yard out route and see what happens. And then, Mike and I talked about it to start the show was Tyree in the starting lineup as slot, which is good. Because, I mean, I've been critical of him as people have known that have listened to us, just not – I don't think he's a great running back. I don't think he has great vision. He's not a cutback guy. But with his speed and he's, when he's had the ball in the open field, we've all seen it over years, he could go in a heartbeat. So hopefully he tears it up and has a great senior year at slot. And then God, what was my other question? I mean, the biggie is, we talked about this a week ago, Singer and I, how I there's a lot of battles. Obviously, we'll talk about battles and whatnot, but that number 2 quarterback is massive. Whether it's Angeli today, is it Minchie in 3 weeks from now? going down the road. Hartman's got to stay healthy. I don't care what anyone says. He's got to stay healthy, or it's going to be a fascinating year. And then I'm on record at saying there's going to be a transfer quarterback, because how is Freeman going to go into, and this would be a great thing for you to think about or chime in as well, Tyler. Like, Freeman, year 1, he had 0 starts. Year 2, he's got 45. Is Freeman really going to go back into year 3 with 0? That's something, I know he said a lot of positive things. These are our guys for the future, but he also talked about they did look at a quarterback, some transfers, obviously, for this year to bring in. So quarterback is never a dull moment at Notre Dame. And I don't think it's going to be this year either, because we know we only got Hartman for so many games. So it's going to be interesting. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have plenty of them, because I agree with you. I don't think that they'll go into 2024 with 0 starts at quarterback. I just don't think you could feasibly do it. But the flip side to that, and the devil's advocate, is, well, then how do you ever get to a point where you're going to start a Kenny Minchie or a Steve Angeli, or even a CJ Carr for that matter? So maybe, and this is really playing devil's advocate here, because I don't think that this is ever something that Notre Dame would try to do. Like, when Notre Dame got Jack Cohn, they knew they were getting a starter, a guy that had started Big Ten games, against really good teams, and had beaten some really good teams. And Sam Hartman, you're getting that and then some. You're getting a guy who's played 45 games, holds all sort of conference records. I mean, that guy's a dude. Does Notre Dame maybe next year not go for the biggest fish? So, like, maybe if there's a Devin Leary or a Brennan Armstrong, who were names that were thrown around for Notre Dame this year, going back 6 months ago, do they get a guy like that and they know, okay, this guy can start, he has started, will probably start for us, but if he doesn't play well, okay, maybe then we put in the other guy. We did our due diligence. We got a guy that we thought would start over all these other guys, but we still have 3 scholarship quarterbacks that we recruited that we think, Mike just put the graphic up there. Marcus Freeman, you got people saying he has to say that. He has to say that Steve Angeli and Kenny Minchie are future starting quarterbacks for this program. He also doesn't really have to say, he could say nothing at all and just be like, yeah, these guys, we recruited them for a reason, and we'll leave it at that. No, he says that these guys are the future. So I think maybe that's a possibility for Notre Dame. Bring in somebody that can start, but maybe isn't a Sam Hartman type, and just let there actually be a competition. Because when Hartman came in this year and people were saying, oh yeah, there's a competition with Buckner, I even said it a few times. I was probably wrong. It was Sam Hartman from the start. From the moment that he committed and signed with Notre Dame, it was always Sam Hartman. So maybe you get a guy I'd like to hear your guys' opinions. If it was Devin Leary, Tyler Buckner would have had a better chance, right? That's more of a quarterback competition than Devin Leary, right?
I still think Buckner's gone if they bring in any quarterback. I really do. And I feel like that could be.
Okay, so if they bring in a Devin Leary type in 2024, is Angeli gone, or is
that's what I was thinking when you said that. I think it would, like, if they were going to bring in another transfer guy after Buckner left, which would have been crazy. So I'm very glad they didn't, because now you're setting a really weird precedent, and not even dangerous precedent, a weird precedent. Yeah, you're like, what are you doing to your young guys? To your point there. So for next year, excuse me, if they were to do one though this year, I feel like it would have to be some D2 quarterback who just went crazy last year, like something like that, where it's a true depth piece, like a Devin Ford at running back, for example, right? Like Devin Ford's probably your 2 or your 3, maybe even 4. Who the heck knows? But a quarterback, that's tough. That's tough to do, because that's such a sensitive position, right, Tim? Like you can bring in transfers anywhere, but quarterback, that one gets touchy.
That's going into your line of work, Mike. It's going into recruiting. It's like, if Notre Dame, and I'm just going off of what Marcus Freeman says, and he has really harped on this experience factor this year. He even said it today. Tyler was there at the press conference. He kind of said, I'm a big fan of reading between lines. I've been around a lot of coaches. So coaches sometimes don't say what they want to say, but do in so many ways. And he basically didn't have any faith in Pine and Buckner. He really didn't. And he kind of said that. So is he going to have is he going to have faith in Jelly, Minchie, CJ Carr come, and it's really a three-man race come next January, really March when spring ball starts kicking in, but January, winter conditions, guys are working out. Because, I mean, don't forget, they don't have 4, cupcakes. I'm going to call it. I mean, they don't have 4 prep games before the Biggie in Ohio State. They go to College Station game 1 next year. People could say whatever they want about A&M. They are loaded. They got dudes all over the place. And Jimbo's a heck of a ball coach. He's got great coaches on that staff. So they were a mess last year. Who knows what they will be next year? So does Freeman do that? And as we talk, we're assuming Hartman starts, all the games. But what if Hartman's done after Stanford and you do another bowl game and it's open and whoever number 2 goes in the bowl game and tears it up and that's the guy next year? So that's why I said a week ago on Mike's favorite things we're doing, the little shorts, is the number 2. I think the number 2 is huge for Marcus Freeman to have confidence when they leave Stanford after 12 weeks. He knows what he has going into 2024. I just think it's massive.
Yeah, here we are a month before the season starts when we're like, screw 2023. Let's talk about 2024, right? I mean, that's part of it. But I mean, it is such an interesting discussion. But Tim, to your point, it's like we have all of this all fall camp, which starts in July. Fall camp starts in July. Doesn't feel like fall. To kind of get more info about this. Who knows? Hartman. Everyone knock on wood real quick. Hartman could get hurt. And then we should know a lot more about this position by the time Notre Dame needs to make a move on it. So a couple of super chats to get to. I did want to pop this up real quick. Stays versus Carr when he comes next year. Who will keep the number 13? I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know. I have no idea, but I thought that was interesting. Tyler?
These guys change numbers so much now. Like, I bet you Stays just like changes back or something. That's the first thing that popped into my head today when I saw Stays wearing 13. I was just like, this used to be like big news, like number change big, and it still kind of is. People eat that stuff up, but now it's like the transfer portal. It's like you put your jersey into the transfer portal almost and say, hey, I'll get a new one and I don't even have to go anywhere. How about that? It's crazy. But yeah, someone's gonna have to change.
BC drops a 2. Appreciate it. He says, what portal guys wants to sit as insurance? So that's kind of was my thing. It's like someone who is like, I just want to get a degree from Notre Dame. I grew up a Notre Dame fan. I'm at some FCS or D2 school. Like, that's the only way I feel like someone's going to sit here as insurance at the quarterback position. Now, the Devin Fords of the world. Yeah, the running back position is different, but at quarterback.
Like you said, yeah. It's all about being that different position.
Yeah. Appreciate the super chat. And then one more from Trash, always drops the interesting super chats for $10 here. He says, people say Marcus was hard for recruiting, but we've been losing recruits. People blame it's only second year, the OC disaster, bad last season, and or NIL. Others say to calm down. What do we do? Tim, this looks like an answer for you, or excuse me, a question for you to answer.
Yeah, I mean, have they lost guys? Sure, they've lost guys. It's recruiting. They're losing guys. There's a guy flipped today, by the way, a Georgia guy, one of the top linebackers in America, just flipped off.
You don't say.
Exactly. There's Georgia. The bullies on the block just lost a guy. So it's recruiting, man. It's never ending. But as we sit here today, as Mike said, they got 22. All right, they're top 10. They're top 10 right now in the recruiting rankings, and they still have, they're still trying to obviously flip a couple guys, and they're trying to get one of the top 50 players in America, and Gruby Lambert at offensive tackle. So it's still a shot at finishing 8 to 10ish possibly. So we'll see.
Yeah. Chris says 2025 is what they keep saying as the golden class. It's always the next class, guys. That's oh man, that cracks me up. It's always the next class. I will say, like, the 2025 O-line class, Notre Dame's looking so good right now, but I feel like that's just rinse and repeat like every year. It's always the next class. The next O-line class is going to be the big one for Notre Dame, and usually is not how it pans out. It ends up being
that. Just another little sidebar for Tyler. That goes back to, I know people don't like when I say it's a soft schedule, but it is. There's games in there. Notre Dame with Hartman and the dudes they have on offense should be able to go out and put up 35, 40 points in the first half, get comfortable leads, and play Drake Bowen, Angeli, Love, you name it, all over the place, these young guys, because there's Marcus Freeman talked about it today. This is a veteran group. There's a lot of old dudes on this team, and there could be a ton of guys gone after this season, so that aren't coming back for a fifth year, a sixth year, getting rid of, the COVID things. I mean, all three linebackers come back, for crying out loud. So the odds of that happening are probably slim to none, but it is vital. Someone posted in the chat as well. The first month, Notre Dame's got to be playing 65, 70 guys in some of these games. They do.
That I will just add one thing quickly there. That's one thing that I haven't seen enough of in 2 years covering Notre Dame football. This will be my third. And this includes an 11-1 season that ended with the number 5 CFP ranking. I mean, they were knocking on the door of getting in the college football playoff. I guarantee you all the other teams, maybe not Cincinnati, but even Cincinnati maybe, beat teams badly enough to play guys where you're like, okay, this is what we have in that guy. I mean, you go back to that 2021 season that I'm talking about, you're not playing guys when you're scraping by Purdue at home, when you're beating Toledo on the last offensive possession of the game for you. You're not getting guys in the game that way. And then last year, I mean, the only game that I can really think of where they got people in was Boston College, and it was snowing like crazy and windy, and it didn't matter. Like, what are we going to glean from that? So, yeah, I mean, you guys know that I went to University of Texas, and me growing up watching college football when Texas was really good. I mean, winning a national title, playing for a national title against Alabama back in the 2000s. For me as a kid watching that growing up, it was, okay, how much are we going to beat UTEP by? And when am I going to see the fourth string tight end? Because I want to know how good that guy actually is, or who is playing quarterback behind Colt McCoy in case he gets injured. We don't really know that about Notre Dame the last couple of years that I've been covering them. And again, that includes a season that they were one of the most elite teams in the country. So when you got a quarterback like Sam Hartman, to your point, Tim, you got to beat Navy bad enough to where we see Steve Angeli actually throw a pass in this game. And that's not running up the score either. That's just playing football and figuring out who you are as a football team.
Andrew with $10 says, glad to have football back. Thanks for the coverage, guys. Andrew, always happy to see you in the chat. Appreciate the 10, my friend. I will add, we had some pretty cool stuff. Like I'm working a lot on the schedule for this fall. I was just talking to Tyler on the phone today about some cool stuff we might be doing. So I'm pumped. Tim and I might move to Tuesday night, or we might stick it on Wednesday night. I don't know, but we got some pretty cool stuff lined up. I'm excited. I'm pretty excited. Running the YouTube is a full-time job in itself, and we are going to be delivering a lot of great content on our YouTube channel, of course, as well as the blueandgold.com website, my other full-time job. So yeah. John with the 5 says, any players at risk of transferring? The talent is deep, and this is going to be our last thing before we get out of here. The talent is deep enough at some positions. I worry about transfers. I mean, that's football. But this will be an interesting time to transfer right before the season starts. Deion Colsey comes to mind for John. Tyler, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I never like to speculate about specific players, but if you're going to mention one, I mean, Tim spent some time talking about how intriguing it was that Chris Tyree was running with the ones. He was one of those top 3 wide receivers. Who did he take out? I mean, Deion Colsey was repping with the ones in the spring, and he wasn't repping with the ones today. And I even wrote in my observations piece a lot of really good things about a lot of wide receivers. I mean, Matt Salerno caught a touchdown today, and he looked really good. I mentioned Merriweather. I mentioned Braylon James, even the lesser talked about of those 3 early enrollee freshman wide receivers. Rico Flores looked good. Jaden Grella, all of that. I didn't really have anything to say about Deion Colsey. Now that has some things to do with, connection with the quarterback. The quarterback's got to look his way, but he's got to get open. He's got to make plays as well. So I'm not going to sit here and say Deion Colsey is going to transfer, but he is a guy that needs to kind of work himself back into that wide receiver picture. He needs to be the guy that we saw catching passes on 3rd and 15 constantly at the end of last season. Today, didn't really see that. Then again, the longest play that they had from scrimmage today was like 15 yards too. So maybe this wasn't really his bread and butter type of day.
Yeah. And I'll just say on that, Mike, is just think of Jacob Lacey. So after the 4th game, right? 4th game is a red shirt. So it's just something to keep in mind as soon as was at Central Michigan. So right after that game, heading into Ohio State. If you see a couple of those Jacob Lacey type guys that only got a couple snaps here and there, they want to preserve a year, still have 2 years somewhere at another school. It's going to be some of those older dudes. More than likely, they're going to transfer. I mean, we're not going to be looking at the 22, 23 class guys to do that. It's going to be anyone that may have, I'm just throwing Tosh Baker out, a guy who still has multiple years. So it's going to be some of those older guys, Jacob Lacey, and there's a handful of dudes that have taken advantage of that 4-game and played 4 games and called it a season. There's a bunch of dudes last year for people to go look at. I'm talking about other schools, obviously. So just keep that in mind. If someone decides to transfer during Ohio State week, they got their 4-game redshirt in.
Cool. All right. I think that's going to wrap it up right there. Minute and 10. Excuse me. We were streaming for longer than minutes and an hour and 10 minutes. How about that? Tyler might ask you to come on next week as well to talk what
Can I get one point?
5 more practices at that point. You guys will see. Yeah. What's up, Tim?
Can I get a 90? I wrote it down. I haven't had a chance to ask Tyler this real quick. Obviously a lot of red zone picks were happening today. Was that more the DBs just kicking butt?
It was
down there. Okay.
Yeah, I thought the DBs looked really good. Linebackers and pass coverage, this is a whole nother conversation for another time, but they didn't do a whole lot to impress me because anything that was kind of thrown over the middle of the field, I'm not really check down stuff, but I'm saying anything that was crossing over the middle where you think that would be linebacker territory, that was generally caught. A lot of touchdowns were caught over the middle of the field as well. But when these quarterbacks tried these DBs on the edges, they were aggressive. They were making plays. They looked good. Sometimes gambles didn't work. I mentioned the Braylon James touchdown over the top of Jaden Mickey. He was probably a little too aggressive there, and Braylon James just made a better play. But I did like the defensive back aggressiveness, and that has to stem back to the fact that how many times did we talk about, I think there was only one team in college football that had less pass breakups than Notre Dame last year, right? It was like Charlotte or somebody that you don't want to be in company with. I think the defensive back coaches, Al Golden, whoever it is, says, hey, don't be afraid to try to go make a play on a ball. And turns out these guys are really good football players. When they go make a play on a ball, it's not just a PBU. Today, it was a lot of picks. So that was encouraging from the secondary standpoint for sure.
All right. Everybody good? Tim? All right, good deal. Yeah. Tyler will have 2 more videos this week after those next 2 practices. So we'll have some good stuff on our YouTube channel from that. Of course, blueandgold.com. Please do head over to the website. That offer for new subscribers, $1 for a month of coverage. And yeah, that's going to wrap this one up. We'll see you guys next week. And again, you can check out more stuff on our YouTube channel and website in the meantime. Appreciate you all. And as always, we will catch you next time.